All right, UFC 330 is in the books, and what a main event that was. Really, really delivered, I think. Very high class, very high quality. Just an outstanding fight. I just wanted to give my immediate thoughts without having a whole lot of time to cook them, my immediate reaction to the main event. It was brilliant to see an Irishman fighting for a world title. I thought that was just a real moment of pride, just seeing somebody who came up here through the mixed martial arts scene in Ireland going all the way and fighting for a world title again. Not long after seeing it the first time with Conor McGregor, I didn't think we'd ever see it again, to be honest, and we may not ever see it again, but I'll get into that in due course. Islam Makhachev runs out, decision winner, 49-46 on a couple of the cards, 48-47 on one. The right result, the right scorecards. I think you go with either of those. I was leaning 49-46 myself. There was a definite shift in momentum in the fight, and Islam Makhachev turned it back in his favour when the chips weren't down, but the tide was certainly turning against him after that third round, and for that I think he deserves all the credit in the world. Just an outstanding champion's performance. Ian Machado Garry came in, delivered, performed, proved he belongs at that level. All of the fighters that we've seen Islam against in the past, he's all bar one or two, he's maybe looked a lot more dominant. The fight I would draw comparisons to, and I was in the lead up to this, was the Alexander Volkanovski fight, the first one at UFC 280, where Islam again won a decision on a lot of the scorecards. I think the scorecards were very similar in that fight, in fact, but there were moments and there were ebbs and flows in that fight that asked questions of Islam, and I think Ian Machado Garry absolutely did that tonight. He stepped up to the plate. He turned up, he looked so super calm. I was reminded of some of the Conor McGregor appearances back in his prime, when he's stepping in there to face Jose Aldo. And Jose Aldo is a long-time dominant champion in the UFC at the time. And McGregor looks like he's getting on the mat to train, looks like he's warming up just to shadow box. It was impressive watching Ian Machado Garry getting in there and just being present in the moment, not being overwhelmed, not being overawed. He turned up, and technique-wise, the first couple of rounds went against him. I have to see the scorecards actually and see, did that second round get scored in his favour? Like, there was one of the judges gave a 3 rounds to 2, so I'm not sure where the just without having had time to process it properly, where the second round, I know Ian clearly won the third. But, Islam got him down early, and we saw that Machado Garry didn't panic. He didn't exert a lot of energy trying to get out of there. There's a long way to go in a fight at that point. If you ship around early, you ship around. You don't need to expend your energy and cost yourself the final 2, maybe 3 rounds in performance levels as a result of trying to, become desperate in round 1. He did a good job of getting back to his feet. It took him a little bit of time. The round got away. It was the third round, though, where the fight really, really got interesting, because we saw Islam start to breathe out of his mouth, didn't we? We saw he went for a takedown then and couldn't complete it, and everybody's ears pricked up at that point. It looked like a little bit of a turning point. It was exactly around the midpoint of the fight, like halfway through round 3. And I thought Garry did enough to win that round. The body kicks in particular of big value to him. He's, in my eyes, and the performances I've seen Ian put in over this course of his UFC tenure, he's performed his best against southpaws. He seems to have a really good understanding of where the impactful weapons are in those moments. And that kick to the body, he was dynamic with it, very impactful, and it was taking the gas tank out of Islam. We could see the demeanour in Islam. Islam did what he needed to do to get back on track and win those next 2 rounds, because even going into that 4th round, Garry was outperforming him on the feet, and it looked like, oh my God, the momentum has shifted here. So although when you look back at it in hindsight, the scorecard's a little lopsided in the favour of the champion, there was certainly a moment there where Islam needed to up his level, and he found a way to do it, and he got the job done. In fact, he finished the fight very, very strongly, got to Garry's back near the end. All I can say at this point is I would agree wholeheartedly with what Garry said directly after the fight. He is 28 years old, and he's proved right there that he is more than capable to compete at that level. Nobody in the welterweight division, certainly because Islam has only just got there, but nobody over the two divisions outside of Alexander Volkanovski has provided that level of test for Islam. And it's something that Gary has done now. And I'd said this coming into the fight, he was going to be the stiffest test that Islam had faced, because I think of all the contenders at 175, at 170 pounds, I think Ian has certainly got the best fight IQ, the most well-rounded skill set to provide the best test for a fighter of Islam's level. The other contenders that are there, Carlos Prates, I still have questions. Goddamn, I love watching Carlos Prates fight, but after seeing Ian Machado Garry outstrip him on the feet where his A game lies over 4.5 rounds. I mean, remember, Ian took that fight on very short notice. And, you know, we haven't seen Carlos Prates tested in the wrestling department in the way that we saw Ian Garry tested today, you know. So we've seen fighters try, but not fighters of the level of Islam Makhachev. Michael Morales coming in there as a young, hungry lion, a bit unbeaten contender on a hell of a run, and seems to have just stormed his way right into title contention. We've not seen enough of him tested it at the highest level, beating the likes of Sean Brady, who are the tier just below these guys. It doesn't answer the questions that we need answered. We need to see him in there against a few more of these guys. It could well be Ian Garry next, which is going to be a hell of a fight. So there's questions to be asked on those guys, whereas we know Ian is right in and around that mix. And if he can continue to grow in the next 18 months as a fighter, you know, pick up 1 or 2 more wins, he then returns into that conversation of a title shot. Presumably, you would say Islam would still be at the top of the division there, but the thing I'm looking at now is their ages here. Ian Garry, 28. We know that he's going to improve from this point going forward. Do we know the same about Islam Makhachev at almost 35 years of age? It's difficult to answer that with any great conviction. So all in all, what I would say is I was very, very impressed with how Ian performed. Although he didn't get the job done, I was impressed with the questions he asked of Islam Makhachev. I was also impressed with his demeanour and his composure and his just classiness after the fight. That was really nice to see. You know, a lot of the talk, the conversation, the noise in the build up to these fights is, you know, the social media pylons, and people are all too willing to deliver their opinion of the man as a person. When you're analysing a fight, you have to block all of that out and look at the X's and O's of the fight. You look at the simple factors. What does this guy bring to the table once that cage door closes? Because all of the things that are being said in press conferences and all over social media, none of it matters when the cage door closes. So I was super, super impressed with his classiness after the fight. I'm interested now seeing what Dana White has come out and said at the post-fight press conference. I haven't seen it in full. I've just seen a couple of clips, but he's basically saying that Ian just needed to have a little bit more of a killer instinct going in there. I'm going to have to dive into this and watch the fight a little bit more and just see where I lie on that, because I think he's right to a certain degree, but I don't think it was the deciding factor in him losing that fight. I think against a fighter like Islam, you can't just come out winging punches. You've got to come in there with a certain level of game planning, fight IQ and composure. Islam is the apex of the game. He's the top of the pile. So yes, I would like to see Ian just switch that off a little bit and maybe just be a little less urgent, be in less of a hurry to shake hands and dab and all that stuff with opponents at certain times. But I don't know. He lets his personality shine too. So I'm not sure, like I said, how big of a factor it plays in the overall outcome of the fight. He'll watch it back and maybe he'll think that's the case. Maybe he'll think, right, I just need to just tune in that tiny bit, that 2% extra. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. That's for him to decide. For me, I think he looked like a guy who was locked in, performed very, very well. And Islam, like Ian said himself in the post-fight interviews, Islam just better on the night. Either way, I was just delighted as a fan of combat sports, as a fan of mixed martial arts. I was delighted that we got to see two of the highest level fighters that there are in the sport today going toe to toe. And like I said, the cage door closes, all the noise goes away. I hate having to go through all of that and just hear all that noise on social media and just people dying to jump in the pylon. Just don't care. Just I want to see them fight, you know. And this is why I've always been a fan of Ian as a fighter. I have done more breakdown videos on Ian than I have of any other fighter, because I like just watching the growth and the development of someone as they try to figure out these problems in real time and try to find their way to the top levels of the sport. It's been very interesting watching this journey, and like the man says himself, 28 years old, still time to go. I think we're in for a long few years yet of watching Ian in the best division in the UFC right now. The fights that are there are incredible. Islam likely, I think, against Carlos Prates next. Can't wait to see it. I don't think Carlos provides the same type of test that Ian will. I stand to be corrected on that. Huge fan of Carlos. And then who knows what happens from there. But I don't know. Very, very interested in how the fight went. Let me know what you guys think of Ian's performance. Drop it a bit in the comments below. Tell me, was Dana White correct in his assertion that Ian maybe just needs to just have a little bit more killer instinct and go for it a little bit more, be less distracted? Or, you know, is that part of Ian that you take that away, you take something away from him? I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Can't wait to see both of those guys back in there again. Props to Islam. What a performance. He really, really is one of the greatest we've ever seen. Take it easy.